2023 just started and Bill Gates is already predicting the next pandemic. He says it could happen in 2025 and possibly earlier if the C19 splits out a variant that is deadlier and more contagious than Omicron. Yeah, I think everybody better start preparing for another big event that the government and their billionaire backers are going to use against us. It could be another more severe pandemic or maybe more lockdowns. I'm hearing from people all over. Some people believe that the next one has already been released into the population. What better place to release something that would endanger people's lives and cash flow than a world event like, let's just say, the World Cup, for example? Then there's the whole vaccine conspiracy theory going around. I'm not trying to get into that. I definitely know a lot of people who have had medical problems related to shots and boosters, life-altering problems, and other people who have never had any issues with it. Now, I know it sounds like a conspiracy, but what do you gain if what you're reading is correct? Life? One thing for sure, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis just got the green light for his grand jury probe/investigation into the C19 vaccines. That's something Americans are going to want to see. Now, I have to confirm this, but did you hear about this, guys? They say African countries with the lowest vaccination rates had the least C19. Is that true? What do you guys think? Do you think that somebody's been pulling the strings in this whole pandemic the whole time? Drop a quick comment down below. Also, if you own a home, make sure your home is protected. Get your free home warranty quote. The link is in the description down below. Now, this really makes me think that there's no mistakes here. It's like everything is exactly how they planned it to be. Here, check this out. So the Bill Gates Foundation just did a simulation video to show what the next pandemic would be like in 2025. They're calling it the severe epidemic intravirus respiratory syndrome. Watch the clip.
Officials in 2 Latin American countries alerted the WHO of several outbreaks of a new infectious disease that's mysteriously appearing across the region. Severe Epidemic Enterovirus Respiratory Syndrome 2025. Over the past 6 weeks alone, there have been 500 confirmed or suspected cases reported. The virus could cause a severe pandemic if early containment and mitigation efforts are not successful.
The pandemic in this type of situation and trend would be a risk for the global health security.
Pandemics are inherently political, financial, and so much broader.
We have not spoken on the leadership in country. And I think that we need to be also very careful. We cannot decide a lot of things without the leaders be involved and agree on that.
There is no substitute for national leadership.
It's important to support the local response or the national response.
Training those that are in these areas first, enabling them with the tools, protecting them, and if needs be, regional solidarity first.
At this stage, communication is key, and communication should include not just scientists with data, but also social, religious, and political leaders.
Trust. This is an essential issue, and trust was broken among countries, between populations and healthcare systems, between healthcare systems and governments.
I'm very sorry to say that in 2025, we need to strengthen the health system.
WHO needs to be a voice for the voiceless.
No one is safe until all of us are safe.
As of today, there have been an estimated 1 billion cases worldwide, with more than 20 million deaths, including nearly 15 million children. Countless millions are alive, but left with paralysis or brain damage. The most successful countries are those which invested in preparedness and trained for this moment years in advance. This included having full-time pandemic preparedness and response teams, which conducted detailed operational planning and routinely tested those plans through exercises and drills. If more countries had participated and heeded the guidance, the toll might have been much less.
You know what? These evil people need to be charged with crimes against humanity. I mean, if this is true, that this whole pandemic has been a lie to make billionaires over at Microsoft, Pfizer, and Moderna richer, you know what I'm saying? So let me give you the full story. So in late 2019, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation co-hosted a pandemic exercise titled Event 201, pandemic that simulated a global C19 outbreak. Well, as we all now know, weeks later, the Wuhan C19 outbreak spread throughout the world and was used as a justification to suspend civil liberties and push this great reset. But of course, the mainstream media and other corrupt politicians insist that this was just one big coincidence. And now, almost 3 years from the date of the Event 201 simulation, the Johns Hopkins Center of Health Security, in partnership with the WHO and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, began to run yet another pandemic simulation. In October of last year, the so-called architects of the global shutdown ran a simulation titled Catastrophic Contagion. They seem to want everyone to panic here, especially parents, because now they're talking about even predicting a simulated enterovirus outbreak with a higher fatality rate than the C-19, and this time disproportionately affecting children. Hey, they learned from the last time. They need more parents to panic. During the exercise, they put together the mock news footage that I just showed you and played out their next pandemic cosplay with the possibility of the virus that went after kids. Like C-19, the disease will spread rapidly because a pandemic with a death rate comparable to that of C-19 and disproportionately affecting children and youth. Now, according to study estimates, 20 million people will die. Now, of which 15 million will be children. And coincidentally enough, the simulation was run the same week that Boston University announced that they created a C-19 strain with an 80% kill rate. Hope that sucker doesn't get out. But what do you guys think about that? Let's just hope that the predictions of Bill Gates and company do not come true. And of course, we definitely need a grand scale investigation to look into this and all the big pharma executives and investors who raked in a whole lot of passive income and residual income off the backs of people suffering. More on that and Governor Ron DeSantis' grand jury investigation into C-19 vaccines later. Stay right there, you guys. Bill Gates certainly isn't closing the doors on another pandemic hitting the United States and the rest of the world. Just recently, he commented that the C-19 risks have dramatically reduced, but another pandemic is coming. All but certain. That's how they describe the probability of another pandemic ravaging the United States population and forcing us into another lockdown. Bill Gates said that the new potential pandemic would likely stem from a different pathogen to that of the C-19 family. Then he kind of dropped the ball here on the whole vaccine industrial complex in the way he talks about advances in medical technology, but more importantly, how a lot of places have natural immunity to fight the virus. He said that advances in medical technology should help the world to do a better job in fighting it if investments are made now. He also said that the waning of the virus is because of the fact that in many places that was due to the virus itself, which creates a level of immunity and has done a better job of getting out to the world population than we have with vaccines, end quote. He also added, quote, the chance of severe disease, which is mainly associated with being elderly and having obesity or diabetes, those risks are now dramatically reduced because of that infection exposure, end quote. Bill Gates also said that it was already too late to reach the World Health Organization's goal of vaccinating 70% of the global population by mid-2022. We're just about 61.9% of the world population right now who have received at least one dose of the C-19 vaccine. So Bill Gates added that the world should move faster in the future to develop and distribute vaccines, calling on the governments to invest in these things right now. Now, he also talked about standardized platforms, including messenger RNA, mRNA technology that would make things faster next time around. According to Gates, quote, next time we should try and make it. Instead of 2 years, we should make it more like 6 months. The cost of being ready for the next pandemic is not that large. It's not like climate change. If we're rational, yes, the next time we'll catch it early, end quote. Gates, through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, has partnered with the United Kingdom's or UK's Wellcome Trust to donate $300 million to the Coalition for the Epidemic Preparedness Innovations, which helped form the COVAX program to deliver vaccine to low and middle income countries. The CEPI is aiming to raise $3.5 billion in an effort to cut the time required to develop a new vaccine in just 100 days. Don't be too dazzled by these big numbers though, guys. Gates could easily earn all that money back in tax write-offs. All he needs to do is pretty much say the word and his team of lawyers, accountants, and elite CPAs would look at it like a charitable donation that our government should pay for with taxpayer dollars. Seriously, guys, I ain't going for that. And he does not stop there. He even talked about the worst being ahead for C-19. Bill Gates warns that the worst might still be ahead of the dreaded virus. In the words of the Microsoft founder, quote, "We're still at risk of this pandemic generating a variant that would be more transmissive and even more fatal. It's not likely. I don't want to be the voice of doom and gloom, but it's way above a 5% risk that this pandemic, we haven't seen the worst of it." End quote. So he wrote a book about preemptive planning and protective measures that could help the world better manage future pandemic. So the book is called How to Prevent the Next Pandemic. A likely title. There he talks about the World Health Organization to launch a global surveillance team consisting of experts who can quickly spot new health threats around the world and rapidly coordinate with global governments to prevent future illnesses from growing into pandemics. You guys hear that? They want to make a team that's going to watch over our family's every move. I don't know if I'm a big fan of that. Then he asked for more money as his proposed task force, the Global Epidemic Response and Mobilization Initiative, according to him, would require significant financial investment from WHO and its member countries in order to create a global team of experts, including epidemiologists, virologists, and give them the tools that they need to proactively identify and contain future outbreaks. So a billionaire asking for money. Definitely some shady stuff going on here, possibly. It's a plan that Bill Gates previously floated by at the 2022 TED conference in April, where he noted that WHO would likely need to spend more than $1 billion per year on such a global response team. That's costly, but he reasons that the cost of another pandemic could be far greater. The International Monetary Fund has estimated that the C-19 pandemic will cost the global economy over $12.5 trillion by 2024. Meanwhile, more than 6.2 million people have already died globally from the C-19 virus already, according to WHO, and Gates has repeatedly said in recent years that the world was not properly prepared for the pandemic. He said, quote, "It seems wild to me that we could fail to look at this tragedy and not, on behalf of the citizens of this world, make these investments." Then his closing line, of course, he said, "We need to spend billions in order to save trillions," end quote. So why don't they just start with the top 1%? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's a couple of $100 billion among the likes of Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos? Am I right? Did you hear about Elon Musk losing $200 billion in net worth with what he's been doing with Twitter and Tesla? Yeah, I definitely don't think that these are the types of people who should be asking for donations here. Hit the like button if you guys agree. So here is Florida Governor Ron DeSantis calling out C-19 vaccine makers and shedding some light into the whole fast tracking of this thing into people's arms. Check this out.
Governor Ron DeSantis looking to the state Supreme Court to take action against pharmaceutical companies, specifically those who make COVID vaccines like Pfizer and Moderna.
And his argument is the COVID-19 vaccines cause life-altering side effects, and he wants the state to dig into the data. Our Vanessa Ariza is breaking down what this means.
In a roundtable discussion held in West Palm Beach earlier today, Governor Ron DeSantis brought together a panel of experts, both in the educational and medical community. But what may have stood out the most in today's discussion are the two vaxxers who say, given the option to get the shot again, they wouldn't.
From that date on, my life has been turned upside down. I immediately got ill. I was experiencing stroke-like symptoms.
I woke up the next morning. I was in terrible pain. I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me.
This is Steve Ordonia and Michelle Utter. They were among the group of educators and medical professionals in Tuesday's roundtable with Governor Ron DeSantis. After receiving doses of the vaccine, they say their bodies reacted, disrupting their daily lives from that day forward. It's stories like these that has Governor DeSantis seeking legal action from the state Supreme Court. He is asking them to impanel a grand jury to investigate any wrongdoing involving COVID-19 vaccinations, specifically the mRNA vaccine makers. In addition, he's creating a new committee to fuel information.
In Florida, we're creating what we're calling the Public Health Integrity Committee. It's a committee of expert researchers that will be able to assess recommendations and guidance related to public health and healthcare, but particularly being able to offer critical assessments of things that bureaucracies like the FDA, CDC, and NIH are doing.
A topic on the table, COVID vaccinations and myocarditis. That's inflammation of the heart. Florida Surgeon General Dr. Joe Ladapo creating a study to look into the connection and possible related deaths.
We know that there's been a lot of faith destroyed in public health. And I think that it's important that we have folks who people actually can rely on when they're looking to answers and when they're looking for guidance on some of these really, really important issues.
We brought that concern to USF professor Dr. Michael Tang, who doesn't deny side effects and the vaccine, but says they are rare.
There are known reactions to the vaccines. We know that, for example, there is an elevated risk of myocarditis with the mRNA vaccines in younger males, which also happen to be the population that's at risk for myocarditis in the first place.
Dr. Tang reiterates there will always be people who have reactions to vaccines, adding they're not perfect, but they're better than getting COVID.
There have been plenty of studies out there that have shown that the mRNA vaccines have done a remarkable job in preventing COVID-related deaths. That having the vaccine is one of the things that has brought us out of some of the most severe parts of the pandemic.
For DeSantis, that's not enough, and is choosing to take his concerns to the top. In Tampa, Vanessa Ariza, ABC Action News.
The Florida Supreme Court just okayed a grand jury probe investigation at Republican Governor Ron DeSantis' request to investigate any wrongdoing with respect to the C-19 vaccines. The Republican governor, who is also the most probable Republican presidential candidate going into 2024 at the moment, called for the investigation. He suggested it would be in part aimed to jog loose more information from pharmaceutical companies about the vaccines and potential side effects. Vaccine studies funded by the pharmaceutical companies that develop C-19 vaccines have been published in peer-reviewed journals such as the New England Journal of Medicine, and the government panels reviewed data on the safety and effectiveness of the shots before approving them for use. But according to Ron DeSantis, pharmaceutical companies had a financial interest in creating a climate in which people believed that getting a C-19 vaccine would ensure they couldn't spread the virus to others. Well, not that surprising, really. I mean, why would all these deep-pocketed entrepreneurs and investors with motivations of profit and expanded gains otherwise be interested in saving the world? Yeah, well, maybe they cared a little bit, but how about those profits? Just to earn a little bit more cash flow for those investors at the end of the day? Now, these statewide grand juries that they're going to get together, usually we're looking at a team of 18 people who can investigate criminal activity and issue indictments, but also examine systemic problems in Florida and also to make recommendations. Recent panels have tackled immigration issues and school safety. The grand jury will meet for 1 year. Something to consider if you're looking to invest in big pharma stocks like Pfizer, maybe Moderna, guys. Because you know me, I'm all about financial education and our YouTube fam's financial freedom altogether. Really, any day now, we will definitely strike gold, and we'll see a major update that's going to bring us one step closer to our financial dreams. Look forward to it, guys, and let's protect our families. But for now, I hope you guys got your fill and your heaping serving of today's big money updates and daily news report. Bill Gates predicting or planning, depends on how you look at it, the next pandemic on 2025, and all his dooms saying all over the world for the next world outbreak. As always, guys, a big thanks for tuning in, and the biggest of thanks for always lighting up the like button. I feel the love, you guys. I do appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.